Hi, my name is Jessica Lozak, and for my final project presentation, I am doing a unit on arithmetic and geometric sequences. This lesson is for my freshman level students in my Math 1 integrated curriculum. An integrated curriculum is essentially where we don't do algebra, geometry, algebra 2. Everything is kind of mixed together, and it's also discovery based. So when I was creating this lesson, I was considering the fact that we could be in person, hybrid, or remote. So there are a lot of different options in my lesson plan to kind of transfer from one to the other. I do teach in a Title I school, and all of the students are one-to-one. This happened before remote learning, so we have always been really encouraged to use as much technology as possible. These are the objectives that I put in my paper. I'm not going to read them all to you. The main idea here is that I want my students to be able to correctly identify arithmetic and geometric sequences. For those people who may not know what that means, arithmetic sequences are just sequences where you add or subtract numbers, and geometric sequences are where you multiply or divide. We will be using a lot of different technologies on this, and by the end of the week, with this being a 5-day lesson plan, by the end of the week, I want my students to be able to do some sort of presentation where they can prove to me that they do know how to transfer from graphs to tables to equations to real life scenarios of geometric and arithmetic equations. The main perspective design strategy that I used was Gagne's approach. I'm not going to read through it, but in the math world, it's really important that we utilize these steps. Gaining attention of the students is extremely important. Telling them what they're supposed to learn every day, prior knowledge, guiding them in the right direction, especially at the freshman level, and assessing their performance and making sure that they can retain information, because in math, you learn something and it builds as the years go on. The other design strategy that I used, and I actually am trying to use more in my classroom now, especially with remote learning, is a flipped classroom. That's where the students would do the notes for homework, and during class we would be able to engage in more problem-solving type situations. So the way that I utilized it in my lesson was for remote learning, but it can definitely be used in any other circumstance. So on day one, in order to gain my students' attention, I gave them a Pear Deck introduction. If you don't know what a Pear Deck is, it has been very helpful for me during remote learning. Essentially, it's just an interactive Google slide. So you create slides and then you give the students a link and they work on each of the slides at their own pace, or if you want them to go one by one, you have that choice. I posted 2 screenshots of what this would look like to them. So as you can see, they can draw, they can type, they can erase. And while they're doing all of this, I am watching them work, and I can also provide feedback to them, which would pop up on their screen. So if I see that they're headed in an incorrect direction, I can try to reroute them without calling them out. The nice thing about Pear Deck as well is that when the students are all complete, I can project certain students' work and I can make it completely anonymous so the students don't feel any sense of embarrassment if they didn't want their work projected. With this introduction with my lesson, it was really important that instead of throwing vocabulary at them right away, arithmetic, geometric, linear, exponential, I just wanted them to realize that all of the things that we're going to learn are things that they already know how to do. So something simple like the first slide, complete the following pattern, adding 4 every time is something they know how to do. So with this lesson and with most lessons in math, especially at the freshman level, it's really important to build the students' confidence and tell them, you know how to do this. We're just going to make it a little more technical. After we do the Pear Deck introduction, we are going to take just generic notes. This is a screenshot of my notes, and it will be presented on a hover cam, which is another word for a document camera. A document camera is an assistive technology that we learned about in one of the last modules. where you can put a document, whether it's a worksheet, a book, something underneath that hover cam, and it would project to your main screen. The thing that I really like about hover cams is it also would project to your computer. So if you were learning remotely, the students could just watch you take notes in a more traditional sense. And you can also use it to record videos. So if you were taking notes and you wanted to record videos of yourself taking notes, you can use all of those different ways on the hover cam. So after we take the notes, the students would be doing a Edpuzzle video. The first day I wanted the students to do the video on arithmetic sequences. Now, if you've never used Edpuzzle before, it is a great way to flip your class and also to hold kids accountable. So I took a screenshot of one of the videos that I've given in my classes. And if you notice, there's an arrow down here at this little bubble. What happens is the students are watching the video, and then once they get to that bubble, on the right side of my screen, there's a multiple choice question. I make them very straightforward, just a comprehension. Have you been watching? Have you not? And once the students get there and answer the question, it tells me if they got it correct or not. Now, the students have the option to rewatch this. I always turn off the skipping, but it is a great way if you're going to flip your classroom to hold your kids accountable. So by the end of day 1, coming into day 2, my students should know what arithmetic sequences are. So when they come into class on day 2, we're going to do a Desmos activity. Desmos is a interactive calculator program on the computer. It's completely free. It's just www.desmos.com. And you can make your own activities, or you can pull from a bank of activities if your topic aligns with what they already have. And they have tons of great activities. This is just one that I made for my arithmetic graphs. So I would give the students a graph and then I would have them fill it in. So because they watched the video the night before, they will be ready to learn this and go over it in class. And then there will be an Edpuzzle homework video for geometric sequences for tonight. Day 3 would be another Desmos activity, except since they just watched the video on geometric sequences, it would be over geometric sequences. Now, it's the same idea. They'd be given graphs, and they would have to write the equation, but this is what the teacher feedback would look like. So just like in Pear Deck, while the students are working, I am watching them work. And if they get stuck or if I notice that they're making some sort of errors, I can leave them feedback and I just type on my computer. There's no need to call out any students, which is really important to me because I never want any of my students to feel embarrassed or overwhelmed. So this would be an example of feedback that I would leave and how it would be presented to the students. So it's just a message to them, then they can fix their work and we can move on to the next topic. So once we've learned about arithmetic and geometric sequences using Pear Deck, Desmos, and Edpuzzle, on day 4, we're going to do an error analysis. I have 4 worksheets. This is just one of the worksheets because one of my objectives is that students should be able to transfer from graphs to equations to tables to context. So there's 4 different problems and there's one mistake made in each of them. One of them might be the equation, one might be the context. Because right now I am currently doing a hybrid setting, this would have to be something that they would have to do a breakout room in Google and meet with their groups and present. If you were in person, you could have the students work as a group and present this underneath the hover cam. But error analysis is a really good way, especially in the math world, to kind of gauge where your students are. Since day 5 is our big project, if they can identify mistakes, then they should be able to recreate problems correctly. So on day 5, my students are to create a word problem and teach the class all the different representations. So for example, they would make up an arithmetic sequence word problem, and then they would use that and explain how to find the equation, the table, the graph from that. Now, the students have 3 different mediums that they can use. All the way to the right, we have the hover cam. So if students wanted to just write everything out, put it underneath the hover cam and present it to their classmates, they could do that. The students could create a Flipgrid video, which is where you record yourself. You can do so on your computer or on your phone, and they would upload it to my class, and I would be able to present it if I wanted to, or I would be able to just view it and give them feedback. Or the students could use Screencastify. Screencastify is an addition to Google Chrome. It's actually what I'm using right now to create this video. And it just creates a video based on what's on your screen and pulls the audio out. So the first couple of days of my lesson, we spend learning the content. And then the last day, I want my students to be able to utilize technology, but also prove to me that they have become experts on these two different types of sequences because they're so important in the math world. Assessing my students informally. Desmos, Pear Deck are both really great informal assessment tools. The thing I like about them is how anonymous they are. I just type to a student, hey, I think you made a mistake on your y-intercept, and they fix it. No problems there. Error analysis group work is another way for me to informally assess how students are working. I can listen to their conversations, whether they're in person or in a breakout room, and I can really see which students have grasped the material more than others and how well they're working together. And then I always do a student survey. Most of the time it's a Google form. Sometimes it is a Pear Deck where they give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, just asking them how they felt this lesson went, how they feel about each of the objectives, what they could have done differently, what I could have done differently. I do this after every single unit in every single one of my classes because I believe that it's important that I give them feedback, but also that they give me feedback. I will formally be assessing them on the video project because it's an individual project. It's really important for me to assess exactly what they know and what they do not know before any unit quizzes and unit tests. The benefits of my unit design, I like that it introduces with a concept that they know. That's a big part of Gagne's approach, especially at the freshman level. And this is our first module coming into a high school. It's really important that the students feel comfortable and that they feel like they will be able to succeed. And this is with any class, any level. I think all of us teachers can agree that our students need to have confidence. So starting with something that they know, even if it's very simple, like fill out the rest of the pattern, will give them the push that they need to succeed. I like that this unit design explores multiple technologies for the students. They get to use programs such as Pear Deck and Desmos. I love Edpuzzle and that the students get to watch videos at their own pace, and those questions really get to tell them if they're grasping what's going on or not. I think that that's a great way to flip your classroom. And in the math world, especially right now with remote learning, our time in classes is cut really short. So that's a great tool for you to make videos for your students and hold them accountable. All the different technologies that I have shown allow me to give really easy feedback, especially in remote learning when we may not see students in person. Feedback is essential, and all of these tools make it very simple for me to give feedback and very simple for them to receive feedback. And for the video, the students get to mess around with technology on their own, and also proving that they can master the content. So that is my presentation. Thank you so much.